Street Fighter!
Hello, dear viewers, Andrew LaPomardo, and today we're talking about top 13 underrated 90s cartoons that ended too soon. There are a few actors that are beloved by all, and Nathan Fillion is certainly one of them. The actor's quick wit and boyish charm have earned him a well-deserved following in film and TV, but while you, like most other viewers of this video, might know him as the dimple-cheeked, wisecracking, borderline man-child protagonist of Castle, we first met Fillion as the dashing captain of the Serenity, Malcolm Reynolds. Combining storytelling elements from the world of science fiction and the visual aspects of an old western, Firefly made its debut in 2002 to much fanfare. The story was promising. A rogue, war-weathered captain leads his crew in a resistance against an intergalactic ruling authority.
Guile to combat the criminal empire of Shadaloo and its superhuman leader.
The sad part is, we never got to see its end. Firefly was cancelled after 11 episodes into its run, and has since become something of a cult classic. And this treatment isn't just reserved for live-action TV shows. Throughout the history of television, many iconic TV series have fallen prey to an early cancellation, and cartoons are no exception. We're fascinated by what could have been. Some popular unresolved cartoon shows got a proper conclusion years after getting canceled initially, thanks to rabid fan support and changing attitudes in the entertainment industry. We know the stories of Hey Arnold and cartoon pioneer Matt Groening's groundbreaking Futurama series. There are many others still unresolved. In this video, we bring you some of the most underrated cartoon series that were canceled too soon. From the golden age of cartoons, the 90s. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone. Cyber 6, 1999. We're a big fan of cultural oddities. Things that have such diverse sources of inspiration that they shouldn't work together, but they do. So, you can only imagine our intrigue when we first watched Cyber 6. Based on an Argentine comic book series of the same name, the show tracks the adventures of the leather-clad, genetically engineered Cyber 6, who is on a quest to defeat her maker. After escaping the secret lab where she was made, Cyber 6 arrives in the city of Meridiana and is hunted by her creator, Dr. Von Richter, and his clone son, Jose. Using her powers, she shapeshifts into the male teacher, Adrian, and uses it as her cover by day, protecting her identity. She tracks Von Richter and fights his minions at night, alongside her pantherized brother, Data 7. Over the course of 13 episodes, we see her fight monsters, confront her past, and embrace a possible future with her love interest, Lucas. At the end of its short run, we see Dr. Von Richter's demise, Cyber 6's escape, and Jose surviving the blast, which ended the series with a certain ambiguity. One of the first things that will enchant you about this short-lived cartoon is its unique animation. We call the 90s the golden age of cartoons for a reason. It was in this decade that mainstream Western audiences were introduced to the unique world of Japanese anime. TMS Entertainment had already worked on seminal cartoon shows like Spider-Man the Animated Series by this point, and Cyber 6 made full use of their animation prowess. They brought the world of Cyber 6 to life and filled it with their signature style of animation. Meridiana is a wonderful depiction of what Miyazaki's work would look like if it was dystopian, gray, rundown, desolate, and yet beautiful in a grim manner. What we personally loved are the character designs, a blend between the anime style production and Western cartoon silhouettes. The characters of Cyber 6 created a sort of disjointed harmony. They didn't look like they belonged in this world, and that engages you even more, as opposed to putting you off. Cyber 6's background score is an electric mix of cartoonish sound effects and the subsuming soundtrack of a Japanese anime. The Robbie Finkel-composed opening theme is iconic, with Coral Egan's haunting rendition of Deep in My Heart being one of the best themes of all time. Though the story has been modified for a much younger audience, in 13 short episodes, Cyber 6 will endear itself to you with its stunning visual presence and heart-rendering themes of acceptance and emotional turmoil. Tailspin, 1990. For most of us, Disney was our childhood. And for the children of the year 1990, Tailspin was one of their favorite formative cartoons. Loosely based on the characters from the Jungle Book, Tailspin plays out like an anthology. We follow the story of Baloo the bear, an eccentric bush pilot who lives in Cape Suzette. He, alongside his partner Kid Cloudkicker and business owner Rebecca Cunningham, go on several adventures across Cape Suzette. They try to build their company higher of higher and fend off excesses from the air pirate Don Cornarge and Khan Industries, run by the uber-wealthy businessman Shere Khan.
Well, Mr. Balloon.
Baloo.
Yeah.
Though positioned as a simple children's cartoon, Tailspin is surprisingly complex in its inspirations. The show's name is directly influenced by America's first aviation-based comic strip, Tailspin Tommy, which also serves as an inspiration for Baloo's character. It is also a double entendre that reflects the anthological structure of the show. Every episode is named after commonly used phrases and popular pieces of fiction, visual and literary, which are then incorporated into that episode's storyline. For instance, in the episode A Star is Torn, Baloo is starstruck by the actress Kitten Caboodle and signs on as her stunt pilot. However, Kitten is later revealed to be the episode's antagonist, having engineered several accidents across the set which put Baloo's life in danger.
Now that you mention it.
Though every episode is unique, the thread that connects each episode is not just the characters, but a sense of moral lessons. Baloo's countless adventures reflect his inherent selflessness and his gentle nature. Of course, the animation itself is oozing with nostalgia. If there's one thing we envy of Disney, it's their capacity to breathe life into their stories. Every frame is teeming with activity, and the various studios attached to the project did a masterful job of emulating that sense of majesty and wonder that is associated with most Disney ventures. As the cherry on top of the cake, veteran voice actor Jim Cummings takes on the role of Don Carnage with such aloof vigor that we personally think it's amongst his best work as a voice actor to date. And yes, that includes Winnie the Pooh too.
It's high adventure with the Pirates of Darkwater.
The Pirates of Darkwater, 1991. The planet Myr is being engulfed by a mysterious oil-like substance known as dark water that threatens to destroy all life on it. Ren, a young lighthouse keeper, is called to adventure when it is revealed that he is the son of the king of a lost empire. With his crew of misfits, he must sail the 20 seas of Myr, looking for the lost 13 treasures of rule, which can stop Darkwater's rapid encroachment and save Myr from destruction. The notorious pirate Bloth searches for the treasure to fulfill his own agendas. This puts Ren and Bloth's crews on a collision course, a race against time, to gather the treasures and fulfill their purpose.
Perhaps we can make a bargain.
We love the Pirates of Darkwater for two reasons: its detailed world building and its impeccable dialogue. Myr is not your typical alien planet with simplified factions. It is rich with history and lore. There are many different species of organisms on Myr. Ren's companion, Niddler, is a monkey bird that is sentient and has its own unique culture, which is briefly explored as a subplot. Ren's other companions have colorful backstories as well. Tallulah is an ecomancer who can control the elements in biological life, sentient and non-sentient, while Lowe's is a pirate who becomes Ren's mentor as the series unfolds. But while these characters in their quest for the treasure is an adventurous watch in itself, the real treat is Bloth, the captain of the Maelstrom, and the main villain of the series. 90s cartoons followed a certain trope with most villains. They were often portrayed as cowards with no inherent sense of aggressiveness.
Boss.
You'll have to earn the gold pieces before you can spend them.
Bloth is a monstrously huge pirate, notorious across all the 20 seas of Mer, who brought down Ren's father and now aims to become the ruler of Mer. He is portrayed as a man driven by purpose and utterly without mercy. Another thing that makes this series iconic is the casting. At the time of its release, the Pirates of Darkwater boasted an all-star cast of voice actors. Ren was voiced by George Newbern, famous today for his fabled run as DC's animated Superman. Bloth's sadistic and cruel personality was brought to life by Brock Peters, who is well known for his turn as the Sith Lord Darth Vader in the radio drama adaptations of the original Star Wars trilogy, and Lucius Fox from Batman the Animated Series. Though the cost of production for this massive epic fantasy proved too much for Hanna-Barbera Productions, the 21 episodes that exist are a testament to what could have happened.
Street Fighter!
Street Fighter, the animated series, 1995. Street Fighter 2 was the thing when it came out, and we mean it. So it isn't surprising to us that this series exists. Street Fighter the animated series borrowed a lot from the various iterations of the franchise. Its overarching story closely resembles that of the live-action movie, which was a masterpiece in my opinion. Colonel Guile is the protagonist and M. Bison is the antagonist. The Colonel is part of an undercover operation codenamed Street Fighter, and their mission is to stop the evil Bison from going through with his schemes to terrorize and rule America, and, by extension, the world. Every character from Street Fighter 2 appears in the series in some capacity.
Sonic Boom!
Now, we know that anything based off a video game is more likely to miss than hit, but Street Fighter has a certain charm that is not lost on us. The premise of the story is actually quite intriguing. Instead of going the realistic military route like the movie, the series leans into the gameplay more. The medium affords this freedom, of course, but there is something about seeing Chun-Li smash up a tank with her legs in the opening theme that makes us stay glued to our seats. The animation style is the pure embodiment of 90s American cartoons. Sharp lines, exaggerated features, dark colors, the whole 9 yards, which makes it such a treat to watch. The introduction of secondary villains in Season 2 keeps the narrative fresh. Most of Season 1 is a focused fight against Bison, but Season 2 explores subplots with other characters that create a streamlined and engaging story. Watching the backstories and plot arcs of characters we've known since our childhood will always bring out fondness for the franchise. Every minute of this 26-episode show is rife with action, animation, and nostalgia, and we're here for it.
Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys.
Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys, 1996. We know that humans have evolved from apes and primates. But what if they were our most evolved form? Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys explores this premise. In the 1960s, as part of their space program, NASA sent the chimpanzee Charles out into space. However, his ship steered off course and encountered an alien species that gave him sentience, tasked with the duty of thwarting the immortal Lord Nebula's plans for universal conquest. The rechristened Captain Charles Chuck Simeon and his group of intelligent space monkeys travel across the universe, fighting and adventuring on distant worlds. For all intents and purposes, Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys is one of the funniest cartoons we've discovered. From the very first episode, we see the comedy in play. When Chuck assembles his crew, we meet the wisecracking little spider monkey, Spidor, who was spotted pickpocketing innocent bystanders in an earlier scene. The Space Monkey's introduction is hilarious, as we see the indifference of some members and the weariness of others. Spidor seems unbothered, though. He's just a being of pure mischief. As the series progresses, he forms an enigmatic duo with the simple-minded gorilla Gore. Think Rocket Raccoon and Groot, except they're both monkeys and Groot's vocabulary goes beyond 3 4-letter words. The series' prominent running gag comes from the big bad himself, Lord Nebula. The cosmic entity is half humanoid, half black hole. Because his existence in this state of limbo, his appearance is, well, gaseous, and so is his digestive tract, if you catch our drift. Another recurring gag is the Splitsies' impersonation of other celebrities, which range from Beavis and Butthead to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. Canadian voice actor and impressionist Maurice LaMarche's take on Splitsy had us in knot whenever he'd bust out another impersonation. This series flips scientific tropes on its head with a visceral decisiveness. When the aliens find Chuck and conclude that he must be the most evolved form of human beings in existence, it inverses the evolutionary scale. Throughout the movie, we see a Planet of the Apes-esque awakening of an intelligent primate species. They name their spaceship the Primate Avenger, after all. So instead of mankind ascending to another sphere of existence, our evolutionary ancestors gained sentience. That alone was enough to pique our interest. The comic timing is a bonus that makes this 26-episode watch even more worthwhile. SWAT Cats, The Radical Squadron, 1993. We bring you two of the most badass felines to exist in this entire universe. SWAT Cats, The Radical Squadron, exploded onto the scene in 1993. Set in a universe where anthropomorphic cats, or cats, rule the world. We follow the journey of Jake and T-Bone, discharged military vets who have a score to settle and a chip on their shoulder. Now operating as vigilantes, they fight crime all across Mega Cat City as the SWAT Cats. Right off the bat, we draw your attention to the action. Yes, there have been many action-based cartoons, but SWAT Cats' explosive animation style is what sets it apart. The opening theme, which is iconic in its own right, sets the rapid, aggressive pace of this buddy cop, or buddy cat, cartoon. While fixing a car at their garage, Jake and T-Bone hear the sound of crime, suit up and fly off in their trusty Turbo Cat as the guitar swells up in the background. This 1-minute intro is all you need to get on the hype train, and it never falls off for 25 episodes. Hanna-Barbera Productions put their full weight behind making SWAT Cats a success, and it shows in the production, crisp, gritty, and captivating. SWAT Cats' gallery of villains boasts some of the most iconic bad guys in the history of short-lived cartoon. We have the villainous mutant Dr. Viper, the time-traveling Passmaster, and the overarching threat of the Dark Cat, lurking in the shadows of Mega Cat City at all times. Jake and T-Bone's rambunctious, free-spirited personalities brought a light edge to this otherwise tonally dark series. Although it was short-lived thanks to poor toy sales and a bunch of revenue-related factors, SWAT Cats is still fondly remembered by many, including us, as an integral part of their childhood, and deserves a rewatch, if only to watch Jake and T-Bone blow stuff up. Biker Mice from Mars, 1993. We've talked about cats, let's talk about mice too. Biker Mice from Mars follows Throttle, Moto, and Vinny, anthropomorphic mice from Mars, who arrive on Earth as intergalactic refugees. Mars has been attacked by an invading alien species known as the Plutarchans. These Plutarchans conquer planets, devour its resources, and move on to the next planet to repeat the cycle. Throttle, Moto, and Vinny managed to escape Mars, but their spaceship malfunctioned and they landed on Earth, allying with Charlie, the owner of the Last Chance Garage. They fight against the Plutarchans on Earth, primarily Lawrence Limburger. This show follows an anthological structure for its majority, where the biker mice defeat Limburger and/or their minions and their schemes and save the day.
Ready, aim.
What sold us on this show was its commitment to the world it had built. An alien species of mice from Mars that's just as sentient as humanity, and also happens to be the most chill biker gang in the universe. Biker Mice from Mars embraces the biker aesthetic. Every scene with our dynamic trio is scored to blaring hard rock music. Their dialogues are reflective of the conventional understanding of biker slang. And last but most importantly, their character designs are just downright awesome. Another thing that drew our attention to the series was its premise. Now, alien predators and invaders are nothing new, but what stood out to us was how very human the Plutarchans were. Their home planet was dying, stripped of its natural resources. The reason the Plutarchans took resources from other planets was so they could save their own. Biker Mice from Mars is, in many ways, an allegory for human indulgence.
We got more than enough of what it takes to whip some tail.
Lawrence Limburger is a grotesquely huge person in both human and in alien form. He's referred to as the supreme cheesiness, which can be a play on the mouse theme of the show, but can also indicate luxurious indulgence. In him and the Plutarchans in general, greed is personified. It can be seen as a foreshadowing of what our own indulgence will lead us to, but maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. The last 3 episodes of Biker Mice from Mars explore the origins of our dynamic trio, and we think it's poetic that this body tale of biker mice from the planet Mars ends with a tale of the beginning.
A world where only the strong survive. A world of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, 1993. Here's a show that gives you exactly what you're promised. Cadillacs and honest-to-God, 10-foot-tall, alive and running dinosaurs. Jack Tenrick is part of a group called the Mechanics, ecological freedom fighters who are struggling to preserve nature against the ravages of post-apocalyptic Earth. The only problem is, this includes dinosaurs. Global warming and extreme climate change forced mankind to live underground for 500 years. When humanity re-emerged, dozens of extinct species had miraculously come back to life, including the dinosaurs. Now, Jack and his crew must figure out a way to peacefully coexist with the dinosaurs while stopping a gang of deadly poachers, led by Hammer Terhune and backed by Governor Wilhelmina. Over the course of 13 episodes, we see the Mechanics take on Hammer's gang and Wilhelmina's shrewd political maneuvers, while trying to keep the dinosaurs safe from harm.
Slick work!
We'd like to think of this series as Jurassic Park on a healthy dose of steroids. There are differences, of course. The dinosaurs in the film were man-made. The ones in the series appeared naturally. The dinosaurs of Jurassic Park were restricted to Isla Nublar, where Cadillacs and Dinosaurs portray them as a natural part of the ecological system. That's something we really appreciated in the series. Jack Tenrick isn't your run-of-the-mill anti-government vigilante. He is an ecological freedom fighter who understands the balance of life. In his first appearance, we see him struggle with the fact that his understanding of the cycle of life isn't universal. He encounters a group of people he'd helped settle putting out a fire caused by a she-vet he let loose. It causes a moral crisis of sorts. On one hand, he promised these people they'd be safe from danger, and his word has come undone. But on the other hand, the she-vet was a living creature whose presence was essential to the ecological cycle. So we see Jack take the third route and help both the refugees and the dinosaur, while tackling the real culprit, poachers. This is a recurring theme, where we see Jack actually help the dinosaurs survive. He has a pet Allosaurus, for heaven's sake. The nuanced portrayal of environmentalism and post-apocalyptic Earth sealed the deal for us. From the use of localized names for dinosaurs, a she-vet is essentially a Tyrannosaurus Rex, down to the designs of the various characters and their social-political backgrounds. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs has a sense of authenticity which is rare in such cartoons. The animation itself is gorgeous, from Jack's beloved Cadillacs to the vibrant scales of the she-vet. Every frame in this show seems alive. So if you've asked yourself what would happen if dinosaurs came back to life, we might have just given you your answer. Extreme Ghostbusters, 1997. After years of negligible supernatural activity, the original Ghostbusters have disbanded and gone their separate ways. Only Egon Spengler remains at the firehouse, continuing his research into the occult and mystical realms. When ghosts begin to reappear, Spengler and his trusty ghost Slimer have to look for new recruits. They turn to his class and select 4 students for their various talents. Kylie is a goth expert. Eduardo is a dependable yet laid-back slacker. Garrett is a paraplegic athlete, and Roland is a tech wizard. With Egon's training and their natural aptitudes, this new team of Extreme Ghostbusters sets out on supernatural journeys to protect New York from ghosts. The real Ghostbusters was an iconic series. It spawned a franchise that is active till this day, and has had significant impact on the horror comedy genre. But the one thing Extreme Ghostbusters does much better than any other iteration in the franchise is dealing with emotion. This new generation offshoot has all the aspects of a classic coming-of-age story dialed up to 11. Over the course of the series, we see the team come into their own. Their skills improve under the tutelage of Egon. They go from being a group of misfits to a close-knit team of dedicated Ghostbusters, and really fill the shoes of their predecessors in terms of both action and comedy. The love-hate relationship between the genius Kylie and the slacker Eduardo, Egon's disillusionment with his work, the fact that he clings to the Ghostbusters because he has nothing else. All of these emotional beats come across perfectly. Of course, the animation plays a large role in that as well. This show is, as many other shows on this list, beautifully illustrated. It embraces the punk rock aesthetics from the get-go, as Jim Cummings performs a rock version of the classic Ghostbusters intro. The general tone of the show is dark, gritty, and grunge-inspired, employing darker color palettes and sharper caricatures compared to the original series. Billy West's take on the iconic Slimer is criminally underrated. And Maurice LaMarche does an excellent job of bringing out the pain and sadness that plagues the older Egon Spengler. Overall, Extreme Ghostbusters lives up to its predecessor, and then some, bringing a new level of depth to the franchise that hasn't been seen since. Jumanji, 1996. Peter and Judy Shepard came across a mysterious game called Jumanji that sucks them into an alternate world where they meet Alan Parrish. Alan is presumably the deceased son of the town's old shoe factory owner, but in reality, he was stuck in the game. Now, Peter and Judy must find a way to rescue Alan from the game while solving its riddles and dealing with animals and the notorious hunter Van Pelt. What caught our eye about this show immediately was its animation and how weird it looks. There are many shows that have made absurd art iconic. Ed, Edd and Eddy and Beavis and Butthead come to our minds instantly. But Jumanji is like an amalgam of the two. Illustrator Everett Peck's signature style emphasizes foreheads. This is evident in his work on Duckman and Squirrel Boy. Alan, Judy, and Peter look like Rick, Morty, and Summer with longer foreheads and different personalities. And it just works. The show largely follows the plot of the movie, with certain exceptions. For instance, the show's Jumanji board seems to be conscious. On multiple occasions, the game randomly sucks in Peter and Judy because they made it angry. Another thing that the game highlights is the actual world of Jumanji. We meet a tribe called the Manji, ex-players of Jumanji who gave up hope of returning to the world and created their own culture within the game. Van Pelt is joined by a cast of secondary villains just as good as he is. And the voice acting in this show is immaculate. Bill Fagerbakke has been the voice of Patrick on SpongeBob SquarePants for years now, and he plays Alan Parrish with a similar feverish aloofness. Sherman Howard, who voiced Lex Luthor in the short-lived cartoon Superboy, has the most iconic iteration of Van Pelt's catchphrase, "Blast!" across the various adaptations of Jumanji. And Tim Curry's turn as the villainous traitor cements his position as one of the most iconic villains on screen of all time. At no point in its 40-episode run does Jumanji feel disconnected, and with its stellar cast and eclectic animation style, it makes for a great novelty watch. Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century, 1999. At the Reichenbach Falls, the great detective Sherlock Holmes had his final tussle with his arch-nemesis, James Moriarty, where they both fall to their apparent demise. Centuries later, Inspector Beth Lestrade, the descendant of Inspector G. Lestrade, is pursuing a French mad scientist who seems to be working with Holmes' old arch-enemy. Seeing no other choice, Beth decides to wake up the great detective himself. Now, in the 22nd century, Sherlock Holmes once again engages his foe in a battle of wits, with his trusty aide Dr. Watson by his side. What compelled us into watching this show was the idea of Sherlock Holmes existing in the future and tackling a setting that is, for all intents and purposes, science fiction. Technological advances progress rapidly. In the 2 centuries that have passed since Holmes' demise, Earth has been transformed into a futuristic society. Deke Entertainment did a great job of portraying this, contrasting the 2D shots of the characters with the borderline 3D shots of modern London, skyscrapers dotting the skylines and aircraft zipping in and out of frame. However, as the series progresses, we see that the more things things change, the more they stay the same. Sure, the world has technology that it never could have imagined in Holmes' time, a fact that is not lost on him, but the people remain the same. Their motives remain consistent. And for Holmes, the game has always been about the puzzle that is the criminal mind. All 26 episodes are adaptations of Arthur Conan Doyle's works, with the twist of being set in a futuristic setting. For instance, in episode 3, which adapts The Hounds of Baskerville, we see the story play out in a similar fashion as to the original novel.
Is on the case. Moriarty.
Except this time, it takes place on the moon, and the Hound turns out to be a hologram. In the adaptation of the Mazarine Stone, Holmes must procure the Mazarine chip, a device that can create virtual environments instantly. These episodes follow the general structure of Doyle's work. In the Baskerville episode, Holmes deduces Moriarty's plans for the moon. And in the Mazarine chip episode, he deceives Moriarty with a waxwork that is reminiscent of the origin short story. The one thing that makes this adaptation gripping is the fact that even in a sci-fi setting where Watson is nothing more than a computeroid, Holmes's ability to discern human interaction is as sharp as it was in the 19th century. The delightful animation and science-based emulations of Doyle's original plotlines are an additional bonus for us sci-fi nerds. Double Dragon, 1993. Twins separated at birth, Billy and Jimmy Lee are trained in martial arts by two opposing disciplines. Billy is mentored by the oldest dragon, a pacifist who believes the power of martial arts should be used to protect. Jimmy is trained by the Shadow Master, who wants to take over the world with the power of his black flame. The brothers reunite after Billy rescues Jimmy from the evil Shadow Master, and they vow to fight against his dark forces as the Dragon Masters. The martial arts boom of the 70s that was popularized by Bruce Lee's hardcore action flicks was still going strong in the 90s. Jackie Chan and Jet Li were breaking into Hollywood at the time, and the legendary hip-hop group Wu-Tang Clan released their seminal debut album, Enter the 36 Chambers, 2 months into Double Dragon's first season. Michael Donovan and Scott McNeil's performances as Billy and Jimmy reflects the kind of brotherly love and camaraderie the characters share. The two veteran voice actors capture the very essence of their characters. Billy is the calmer, level-headed twin, and Jimmy the fiery, temperamental one. Donovan's reserved portrayal contrasts with McNeil's unhinged performance in a delightful harmony. Double Dragon might have been created for kids, but its philosophy is surprisingly nuanced. It follows the belief that though martial arts is a powerful weapon in your arsenal, it is only to be used for the defense of others. The oldest dragon constantly urges the brothers to avoid violence where they can, and they obey his wishes to the best of their abilities. The poetic irony of trying to achieve peace through war is on full display through the show. Billy and Jimmy's color-coordinated suits and simultaneous transformation chants are some of the many things that make this show so endearing. And if you're into the mystical ways of the Shaolin, then Double Dragon is just the kind of show for you to dabble with. Extreme Dinosaurs, 1997. 65 million years ago, the Quadranian criminal named Argor Zorda appeared on Earth and transforms dinosaurs into anthropomorphic organisms. He arms the bad rap with a weapon and sets them against the extreme dinosaurs. After getting rid of all the other dinosaurs, the two factions hibernate for 65 million years and wake up in modern-day America. They continue their millennia-old fight as the Quadranian continues to meddle with the extreme dinosaurs. And the Raptors seek to rule the Earth by accelerating global warming so they can live comfortably at last. Unlike the previous entries on our list, these anthropomorphic animals come to the small screen via a Mattel toy line. Contrasting to the Transformers franchise, though, Extreme Dinosaurs flew under the radar and was eventually canceled. This is a shame, because this show has some of the coolest animation and character designs on our entire list. Scott McNeil proves his prowess as a premier voice actor yet again, lending his voice to T-Bone, the leader of the Extreme Dinosaurs. The overarching themes of Extreme Dinosaurs are well written as well. A group of selfish, bad dinos that are looking to degrade Earth's environment for their own comfort is representation of the environmental degradation being caused by coal companies and the fossil fuel industry in general. In fact, throughout the show, the Raptors attempt to accelerate global warming using multiple hokey yet unlikely schemes.
Extreme dinosaurs! Extreme dinosaurs!
For instance, towards the end of the show, Bad Rap attempts to melt all the ice from the North Pole to flood the Earth and raise its temperature. Throughout the show, the Raptors attempt to take hold of devices and technology that will help them accelerate global warming, much like our own relentless exploitation of the fossil fuel industry. And if you're not the kind of person who's motivated by ecological reasons, then watch it for the dinosaurs. We are yet to find a cooler looking design for half human, half dinosaur beings, and trust us, we've been looking. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.